There is a number that the survival industry hopes you never calculate. It is not complicated math. It is not hidden in fine print. It is just the total amount of money you will spend over your lifetime replacing things that should never have needed replacing in the first place. Most people never add it up. The industry is counting on that. Here is what that number looks like. Every 3 to 5 years, your battery storage fails. Every 2 winters, your insulation loses a third of its effectiveness. Every decade, the communication system you depend on becomes obsolete and needs to be rebuilt from scratch. Stack those replacement cycles over 40 years, and the number lands somewhere between $40,000 and $80,000. Spent not on independence, spent on the illusion of it. There are 3 technologies that break this cycle completely. They are not new. They are not experimental. You have not heard of them, not because they are secret, but because a customer who buys once and never comes back is not a customer. That is not a conspiracy. That is economics. This is the blacklist. The first thing you need to understand before we get into the technologies themselves is how the system actually works, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Modern manufacturing operates on a principle called planned obsolescence. Products are not designed to last as long as the underlying physics would allow. They are designed to last long enough that you feel you got your money's worth, and short enough that you come back. The engineers who build these products often know this. Many of them are uncomfortable with it. But the economics are so deeply embedded in how companies operate that questioning it from the inside is almost impossible. The result is a market full of products that are good enough, but never as good as they could be. And in survival preparation, good enough is a dangerous standard. When the grid goes down and you need your equipment to perform, good enough becomes a liability. The 3 technologies on this list were all developed before planned obsolescence became standard practice. They were built by people who were trying to solve problems permanently, not profitably. In 1901, Thomas Edison developed a battery chemistry built around nickel and iron. He was not trying to create a product line, he was trying to solve a specific problem. He wanted electric vehicles that would last for decades without needing their power source replaced. The chemistry he landed on was unlike anything that came before it. Nickel hydroxide as the positive electrode, iron as the negative, potassium hydroxide as the electrolyte. No lead, no lithium salts, no complex chemistry that degrades under stress. What this produced was a battery that does things modern batteries simply cannot do. Deep discharge kills a lead-acid battery. The lead sulfate crystals that form during discharge become permanent over time, blocking the chemical reaction and reducing capacity until the battery is useless. Nickel-iron chemistry does not produce permanent crystals. You can drain a nickel-iron battery completely, leave it that way for months, and it recovers to full capacity when you charge it again. Overcharging destroys a lithium battery. Nickel-iron chemistry responds to overcharging by producing hydrogen and oxygen gas, which simply vents away. No structural damage, no fire risk, no permanent degradation. Cold temperatures cripple lithium batteries. At -20 degrees, a lithium cell loses roughly 40% of its capacity. Nickel-iron batteries operate at -40 degrees with minimal performance loss. Edison batteries from the early 1900s are still operational today, not theoretically, physically, in documented cases, actively used. The reason is straightforward. A nickel-iron battery system that costs $3,000 and lasts 50 years generates 1 transaction. A lithium system that costs $1,500 and needs replacing every 10 years generates 5 transactions over the same period. The math is not complicated. The industry chose the math. Aerogel is sometimes called frozen smoke because it is 99.8% air. The remaining fraction is a 3-dimensional network of silicon dioxide at the nanoscale, a structure so fine that it traps air in pockets too small for heat to move through efficiently. Standard goose down conducts heat at roughly 0.025 watts per meter Kelvin. Aerogel conducts heat at 0.015, 40% better than the best natural insulation available. But the performance gap is not actually the story. The story is durability. Down compresses. Every time you sit down, every time you stuff your jacket into a pack, microscopic feather structures break. After 100 compression cycles, you have lost 30% of your insulation. After 500, the jacket is functionally dead. This is not a design flaw. It is the design. Aerogel compresses to 20% of its thickness and returns to full volume. The nanostructure flexes at the molecular level without breaking. Moisture destroys down insulation. Wet down clumps together. The air pockets collapse and the insulation value drops to nearly zero. Aerogel is hydrophobic. When fully saturated, aerogel retains 95% of its insulating performance. NASA has used aerogel on Mars. A 3 mm layer of aerogel provides the same insulation as 30 mm of down. There are exactly 3 companies currently manufacturing aerogel jackets for consumers, not because production is expensive, because the retail channel does not want to carry a product that eliminates the replacement cycle. The industry has decided that consistent peak performance is not a selling point. Imagine it is day 3 after a serious infrastructure collapse. No cellular networks, no landlines, no civilian satellite communication. You are informationally blind. You do not know where safe areas are. You do not know which roads are passable. You do not know if your family 40 miles away is alive. Now imagine you have a device in your pocket the size of a credit card that costs $35. It sends encrypted messages up to 100 kilometers. It requires no provider. It requires no permission. It cannot be shut down without physically destroying every device in the network. That is Meshtastic. It exists today. It is completely legal. The technology is built on LoRa, long-range radio, a wireless protocol that trades data speed for distance and penetration. Standard Wi-Fi dies after 100 meters. LoRa signals move through buildings, hills, and forest over dozens of kilometers. What makes Meshtastic genuinely different is the mesh network architecture. Every device in the network is simultaneously a sender and a relay. There is no central point of control, no single point of failure, no infrastructure that can be switched off. The encryption is AES-256, the same cryptographic standard used in NATO communications. The power consumption is almost unbelievably low. A single device runs for 7 to 14 days on one standard battery cell. Paired with a small solar panel, it runs indefinitely. You will not find it in any major electronics retailer, because it makes telecommunications companies completely irrelevant. A communication network that no one owns, no one can charge for, and no one can shut down, is not a product the industry can sell. So the industry pretends it does not exist. Here is the final calculation. A nickel-iron battery system, $3,000. 50-year lifespan, annual cost, $60. An aerogel jacket, $1,000, 20-plus year lifespan, annual cost, $50. A Meshtastic device, $35, 10-plus year lifespan, annual cost, $3.50. Total initial investment, just over $4,000. Annual cost, just over $100. Compare that to the industry standard. Lithium battery systems replaced 3 to 5 times over 50 years, $24,000 to $60,000. Down jackets replaced 10 times over 40 years, $2,000 to $5,000. Mobile communication contracts over 30 years, $15,000 to $18,000. The gap between those two numbers is not a rounding error. It is a deliberate outcome of a system designed to keep you buying. The technologies on this blacklist are not here because they are dangerous. They are here because they work too well. Because a customer who buys once, uses the product for 50 years, and never needs a replacement is a problem for an industry built on replacement cycles. The physics does not change. The chemistry does not degrade. The network does not need a server. The only question is whether you know these things exist. Now you do.